Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar this morning. Delighted to have you with us for this session. We'll be around about 30 minutes, and there'll be some time for questions at the end. So the whole subject matter we'll be talking about is B2B social marketing and converting likes into leads. So I'm Steve Hoyle, and I'm the Head of Client Services at SuccessFlow. And SuccessFlow are a B2B digital marketing agency that help organizations to attract, engage, and nurture prospects through to sale. I'm dialing in from Leeds today, and I'd like to introduce my colleague, Mark Lerner, who is the Director of Marketing at Octopus. So Mark, could you just tell a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure. Hi, everybody. This is Mark Lerner, Director of Marketing at Octopus. Octopus is a B2B social media marketing platform. The guys at SuccessFlow are also using our platform as well. Background in B2B and both B2C, and I'm very much looking forward to the presentation. We have some really interesting stuff for you. So I'll get back on in a little bit, but I'll let Steve take over.
Okay, thanks, Mark. So we'll, as I said before, we'll spend about 30 minutes hopefully, telling you a few things that are new to you. We'll share some insights, some of the learning that we have through the services we've developed here at SuccessFlow, and also through the fantastic platform that Octopus have for B2B marketeers like myself. And we're going to have a few questions throughout that we'll put up on screen. So it'd be great to get your feedback on those questions, and we can understand a bit about yourselves as an audience. And throughout the webinar, we'd welcome you to post any questions that you've got, and then we would answer those at the end. So the way to do that, if this is your first webinar, will be to post a question or comment through the question box within your GoToWebinar control panel. Should be on your right-hand side. So just to kick things off with that, could, if you wouldn't mind, would you just post a quick comment to let me know whether you can hear me okay, and whether you can see our first slide, which should have a picture of myself and Mark. If you can't hear me, you won't be able to do that, of course, but it'd just be good to get a little bit of feedback from everybody, so whether you can hear me. So okay, thank you. Thanks, Mark, Chris, Catherine. I really appreciate that. Always good to know that you actually can be heard by your audience. So in terms of at the end of the session, we've got a 1-minute survey which will be up on screen. So if you can answer, there's 4 quick questions. I'd appreciate it. It'll give us some feedback so that we can make these sessions, even better as we go along. We're also on Twitter with the hashtag #AskSuccessFlow. So if you've got any questions, any feedback, please feel free to use that hashtag. But we'll be answering any questions also that you post through the chat facility. My colleague Ketan is sat with me today, who will be moderating and answering those questions. Okay, moving on to the agenda then. So I'm going to cover off, as an introduction to the session, about building an infrastructure for lead generation through social marketing. So I'll cover that piece. Then I'm going to hand over to Mark. Mark's going to talk about B2B lead generation and give you some insights into the most effective social channels to use for lead generation and why. We're going to talk about then, or Mark is in particular, about measuring what matters. So getting into some of the analytics and things that are measurable now within social, some of the things you may already be doing, and some of the things that hopefully you can take away from this webinar that is possible now with the technology that stands. So Mark's also going to talk about how you can enrich your lead data in your CRM system with social analytics. So he'll talk to us a little bit about that. Then I'm going to talk about sponsorship. So we do quite a bit of sponsorship for ourselves and our clients around content, particularly on LinkedIn and Twitter. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about that. And then as a wrap up, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the thoughts and approaches that you potentially could take to manage your social leads and other leads through to sale. And then we'll take questions at the end. In terms of social marketing and an infrastructure, I think looking at ourselves as a B2B organization, and thinking about the clients that we manage and work with at the moment, um, and other conversations we've had, then a lot of organizations are generating a lot of engagement on social channels. There's content being posted. We're seeing likes, clicks, retweets, things like that. There's some great analytics and stats that can be shown, and people are using trackable links through tools like Bitly, etc. And what we kind of see is that, I mean, that's fantastic that you can track the engagement and what's going on from a holistic level, and that is quantifiable, of course. But what we are seeing more and more is that B2B organizations, sales and marketing teams are wanting to go further than that. They're really interested in leads. We're interested in leads, and we don't track where those leads have come from for ROI. Some of the sort of dashboards and analytics that we will actually tell you a little bit more about in this webinar, become really powerful, because it's the sort of thing that board level people, the CMOs, etc., the sales directors really wanted to see. So we know where the marketing money is going, and we can put more of the marketing budget where we're getting the real results from. So really interesting sort of move. So a little bit cheesy. My colleagues have already given me feedback on this, but I kind of encapsulated this as it's why it's fine to like likes. It's okay to covet clicks, but it's actually better to love leads. So anyway, cheesy, I know, but forgive me for that. So so here, really, we're going to talk about how we bring together all the great things happening on social media channels, but we'll bring over the kind of holy grail of how you quantify what's going on from a lead perspective. So moving on. So the way that we approach social marketing for ourselves and for our clients is as per any other B2B kind of marketing engagement, really, all the way back to target audience and specific demographics. If you I'm not going to labour on this, because I'm sure you guys all do this really well to varying degrees, but doing this part in terms of social will obviously help to highlight which social channels and which channels within LinkedIn, for example, where your target audiences reside, what groups they've joined, how you can get to them through, say, sponsorship, through company page updates, which I'll talk about. Just a really important point in terms of starting off with that clear picture of the people you want to target, and then doing that good research on the social channels to find out where they are. So once you have that view on your target audience, then what we would typically say to clients is, take a look at from a content marketing perspective. That's really important to us, and it's the way that we approach things, and our clients who work with us approach things, is to push content out and have people read that content and visit your website and sign up for certain pieces of content so you can generate leads in the database. So if you look at doing an audit of all the content that you have in the business, all the planned content that you're looking at, as well, then you can get a full view in terms of what you have, really, what your assets are, and we can look at that across the buyer's journey. So all the way through awareness type content, through consideration, through to decision. So anything from tweets, social posts, webinars, white papers, case studies, presentations, free trials, that kind of thing. So this is a tool that we actually use to just pull all that together, but it's just useful to see all your content in one place. And once you can see all that content, that enables you to start to build up a plan for how you're going to have a consistent flow of content going out to your prospects and customers too, if they're within the plan, and then what kind of level of leads you're going to be able to generate from all that content. The next phase for us would be to look at a specific content framework then for a particular program or campaign. So by premium content, that's what we term as content is gated, and that you would ask somebody to sign up for and provide their contact details. Everybody here today signed up for our webinar and provided some details. We asked for the minimum information to be able to recognize somebody and give you details to be able to log in. So that's a good example of the kind of premium content that we use and our clients use to generate either new leads in the database or to re-engage existing leads in your CRM to get them to sign up for something and to know that you've got some kind of recent engagement and interest. So other forms of content there will be things like guides. It could be kind of top 10 tips to something, or a white paper on a particular theme or topic. Then we've got the freemium. The freemium content will be content you're going to give away, basically really valuable content, sometimes generated from the premium content. So we would maybe produce quite an intensive guide, and then from that we would then chop that up into lots of little pieces of content, such as blogs, maybe a video, like today's webinar will be a video, for example, which we will give away, and then things like infographics. So all these things really good to post about on social channels and drive traffic back to your website. So maybe a blog area on your website, or an infographic within your resources section. And then the supporting content is your sort of layer of content for that campaign or program. So what content are you going to put out to promote your premium content? So for the webinar today, you may have seen a post on LinkedIn, or a tweet, or an email, or a mixture of all of those. So it's the content that's going to really drive people to sign up for the good content that you've invested in. Just some examples really of premium content. So some of these are the two at the top and the one on the left side, front covers of some guides that we've produced recently, and have had a really good sign-up rates from the prospects. So a couple for a management consultancy, and one for a large German manufacturer. You may recognise their logo there, and they're kind of digger. And got loads of really good sign-ups for those pieces of content, because we were giving actionable insight, things that people can actually take away from that content. So yes, people had to give the details for it, but there was some real significant guide and experience being handed over. The bottom right one was it's a front slide from a webinar that we ran for a client. We do quite a lot of webinars, as I said, and that generated that webinar series had 300 plus registrations. So new leads in the database. So just some examples there. So we talked about target audience. We've talked about content. We're looking at the content plan, and then building out the content that you would use at each stage. And we've got people coming to perhaps it's your website where you've got an area for webinars or guides, or it could be a separate campaign landing page. But really important to optimize that traffic that you're getting through. Obviously, the more you convert in terms of visitors, the more leads you're going to get. That's kind of goes without saying a little bit. So just want to show you here some of the approaches that we take around templates. So we look at wireframes initially to get a really good optimized landing page in this example here, which we would then design and build. And this is for one of our clients, Teleware. So we've got the main landing page, which we would look to build out, and then following best practice, and then tweak based upon visits to the landing page and how many people are hitting the page and bouncing off, and we can then tweak the buttons and the message, etc. And for each of these pages, we would have mobile optimized. So obviously key to make sure that we're feeding the people looking at this content through mobile as well. Second stage will be then to take them through to a sign-up form. So you get the landing page through to, this is quite a simple version example of one of the sign-up forms that we would do, but we don't tend to sort of go over elaborate in terms of design, etc. And again, a mobile version of that. Then finally, something that we do more and more of is thanking somebody for registering for the webinar or downloading content, but also when they hit that page, it's an opportunity to promote other content. So maybe you've got it's a webinar, but you've got a white paper, you might have an offer, or here we're going to show some case studies or some quotes from customers, just as another touch, really good opportunity to share other content, and again, mobile optimized.
Let's go to the next slide there. Yeah. Okay. Great. So we're going to talk about social media channels for B2B. I'm really going to highlight only two of them that are really the most relevant. The first being by and far the most relevant, which is LinkedIn for social media for B2B. And I'm going to go. We did some research internally on our own customers and their behavior, and came up with some very interesting statistics that kind of prove how powerful LinkedIn is. So let's go to that next slide. Okay, so on this slide, you're going to see the answer to the poll, which might be surprising to you, but we found, based on our research, that 80% of all leads that were generated by B2B marketers in social media actually came from LinkedIn. And this kind of speaks to Steve's point earlier about, are you able to measure leads? And if you are, how are you doing that? So some more analytics. You can go to the next slide. There are some more of the statistics that we actually found from this slide. Is about the time of day when most of these conversions happen. And again, this might be interesting for you guys as well. We actually found that right after lunch was when most of the conversions from B2B marketing happened through social. And when we kind of came up with the idea that maybe people are coming back from lunch and going in and checking their social channels, going onto LinkedIn, going into those discussion groups before they get back to work. Let's get to the next slide there. And then we have the breakdown of the different aspects of LinkedIn. So one of the things that we found to be really interesting and makes perfect sense to us is the vast majority of the leads that you generate from LinkedIn are actually coming from discussion groups. Something like 87% of all the leads generated from LinkedIn, which was 80% of the total leads that were generated from B2B marketers on social media, actually came from discussion groups. And you can see it's a little bit lower for company pages and personal profiles. And Steve's actually going to get, this is from organic posting. Steve's actually going to get into it a little bit in the sponsorship section, how we can actually boost those conversions from company page posts and things like that. We can go down to the next slide now. So we found a few interesting points here. One was that, and this has to do with the benefits of LinkedIn discussion groups, which is something really strong. And I'm going to, kind of in my overview here, I'll talk to you more about it. But we found that 1/3 of all conversions that happened in LinkedIn discussion groups had a question mark in it. So what that means is that it involved asking a question. And that's really one of the most important things when posting in a discussion group on LinkedIn, is to ask a question. Even if you're sharing content, it's important that you focus on engagement, because you're enriching the experience of sharing that content by asking a question. Because you'll get the person to engage, it'll pique their interest, and they're going to want to find out more, and then they're going to click through to your content and eventually convert into a lead, hopefully. The last thing that we found is the character length for a post on LinkedIn, and this is actually the post itself, not including the subject line, was 248 characters. It's an interesting little tidbit there. So let's move on to the next slide there. And so the reason that LinkedIn is so important for a B2B marketer is really it's unparalleled compared to Facebook and Twitter. There are 300 million members. People update their posting 2 billion times. There's millions of discussion groups that are hyper focused on your industry that are people engaging on a regular basis. So it's really, you're leaving money on the table if you're not engaging in LinkedIn. Okay, so let's go to the next slide where I'm going to summarize a little bit about LinkedIn and posting. So we talk about content marketing, and really the point of content marketing, the end point is to generate leads, but what you're doing is providing value with that content. It's not about promotion. It's not about buy my product. No one's going to want to read a sales promotion, and they're definitely not going to come back and find out more. You're not going to establish trust that way. The point of content marketing is to provide value. If the person's not ready to make a purchase right now, you're going to be in the top of their mind, and they're going to keep coming back to you for more of that valuable data. And when it comes time to make a purchase, you're going to be at the top of their mind. And the same rules apply when posting in social media and LinkedIn. You don't want to post, hey, my product is awesome, buy it now, especially if you're posting in discussion groups. You're going to want to post valuable content, and you're going to get in the person's mind. They're going to read your content, and eventually they're going to convert. And this is important because there are some new rules that were instituted in LinkedIn in the past year or so that actually a lot of people aren't aware of. One was called the Site-Wide Automatic Moderation, and it's actually called SWAM. Initially, this rule was that if you get blocked or deleted from any group that you're a member of, you will be put in automatic moderation queue for the rest of your groups, meaning that any group you post in, even if it's not the one you got deleted from, your post will automatically go into a queue that will require moderation, and if the group is not moderated, then your post will very rarely see the light of day. This has scared a lot of people away from discussion groups, from posting content in general. And And this can easily be avoided. If you're sharing content in these groups, you have to make sure it's value-added content, that it's not overtly promotional, that you're asking questions around that content in your post that enrich the experience. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so the second social network we're going to talk about, and you saw on the slide I had earlier on about the breakdown of lead generation. So LinkedIn, it's great for engagement, a lot of things like that. It also is very good for lead generation, not as powerful as LinkedIn, because LinkedIn by far is the most powerful. But Twitter has some amazing benefits for B2B lead generation, and in general, I mean, it's this. You can go to the next slide, please. So Twitter is an open platform, meaning that anyone can see your tweets. You don't have to. They don't have to follow you. You don't have to follow them. It's this amazing communication opportunity that never existed before. I mean, if done correctly, you can actually interact with the CEO of a Fortune 500 company on a one-on-one basis, which would never have happened before. You would never have gotten a meeting with that person. But if you use the right hashtag, if you tag them the right way, if you get in the right engagement, that's going to happen, and it's happened to me. And it's kind of something that's totally amazing and would be unheard of years before. So some of the best practices here are to use hashtags. And so the question is, how do you identify the hashtags that you should use? And in my experience, one of the ways to do that is find the thought leaders in your industry. Find the people that people look to for information, the respected people, and see what they're tweeting. See what hashtags they're using. And start using those hashtags yourself, because clearly those are popular hashtags that people in your industry are following. So start using those, start incorporating those into your tweets, and use them in the body of the tweet. Now, people use hashtags at the end of a tweet, and that's okay, but generally I think a best practice is to add the hashtag within the content of the tweet, and don't use too many. If you really want to keep your tweet focused, and for people that aren't as aware, hashtag really denotes a topic, and people can follow certain hashtags. And they can search a certain hashtag, and it'll show them all the tweets with that specific hashtag, which is why it's important. Another aspect of Twitter is lists. You can actually make lists of people on Twitter and follow a specific list. So it can be just certain thought leaders that you want to follow, certain people that you want to engage with, and you can follow those specific lists and engage with those people directly. And actually, the person that you add to the list will get a notification that they've been added to your list, and you can kind of boost their ego a little bit if you add them to a list that's like, thought leaders in our industry. They'll be like, okay, this person is interesting. And then you can follow other people's lists, and you can follow these lists. Our platform, for example, Octopost, has a feature called Streams, which allows you to actually create a stream of keywords that you're following, hashtags, or lists as well. In terms of sharing on Twitter, the same rules apply. Sharing valuable content, not promotional content. If you're going to be sharing, if you're going to be linking people to content, make sure it's valuable. And another thing is, if you're only going to post once a week or even once a day, then you might as well not be using Twitter at all. You really want to be active here, and 5 to 10 times a day setting tweets. Generally, the sweet spot is 7 is really important. You're going to want to establish yourself, and that may seem like a lot, but there are ways to set up queues where you can throw tweets in a queue and they'll automatically go out on a basis that you've scheduled, so you don't have to keep going back to Twitter and doing that. And it's important to do your research. Find out what other people are sharing, see what's popular in your industry, and share that kind of thing. So we can move on to the next slide. And we're going to talk about measuring social media, and this is what we spoke about earlier. Engagement is great. Social media is supposed to be social. We understand that. But for B2B, there has been this skepticism about what the benefits of social media are. And the reason for that is because there was this perceived inability to measure ROI. And what's ROI? We're looking at leads that were generated. So previously, it was impossible to actually see not only which leads were measured from, gathered from social media, but we can see who the leads are, which post they clicked on, in which social campaign it was, for which piece of content or event that they signed up for. So driving engagement on social is great, but you have to drive that engagement with the ultimate goal of leading to a conversion. And with our platform, for example, with Octopost, we can actually track those conversions on a level where we can see some really deep information. So let's go to the next slide. So the information that you really want to see from your analytics and social media, and this is what's going to help you get a better idea of social, because it's not only about, okay, I've had X amount of leads that came from social media, but you're going to want to know which social campaign it was. So was it for the promotion of a certain event? Was it for the promotion of your blog? You're going to want to know which one of these things are bringing the leads. You're going to want to know which social channel was it. Is LinkedIn working the best? Is it Twitter that's working the best? Which one needs which one needs more focus and which one should be worked on more. If it was in LinkedIn, which discussion group it was, so you can put more focus into that group. Which profile in your account, in your social channels, which profile was it that posted the post that caused the lead, and which specific post was it, and what did they sign up for? Did they sign up for a piece of content? Did they sign up for a webinar? Did they sign up for your product or service? Let's go to the next slide. So this is actually a screenshot from Octopost, and what we're able to do is grab the person's information so we can see who they are, and this is information that they put in the form. So we're able to say, okay, this is a lead we generated from social media on this day. We can see who the lead is. We can see which post they clicked on. You see there where it says source. If I scrolled over that, it would show you what the exact post was that they clicked on. And then I can see what they signed up for. So it says conversion webinar. So I know that this person on a specific day clicked on a post that we made with a specific profile and a specific group and then converted into a lead via webinar. And that's the kind of thing that can be sent to a CRM or an automation platform like Acton, which is going to help in the process of it's going to take this information, and this is the kind of information that's required for pushing leads down the funnel, in terms of nurturing and in helping sync sales and marketing, because if you have this gap between sales and marketing, then things aren't going to work. So I think now we're going to go ahead and pass it back over to Steve to take over about advertising and promoted posts.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Just to say that we've got some really good questions in already that we're going to pick up at the end. If anybody has any other questions as you've been listening to Mark and myself, if you could just post those through the question box, and then we'll pick up your questions too at the end. So yeah, just around content promotion really. So just looking back to some of the stats that Mark picked out around, say, how well LinkedIn groups work, so the discussion groups and the use of questions within the subject line, etc. So yeah, there were a lower level of leads from, say, a company page post, but I think the stats show that the conversion was pretty good from the level of posting that was going on. So what we do a lot of, and for ourselves and our clients, is use the sponsored content functionality within LinkedIn. It's fantastic for many reasons, but I think one of the main reasons is because it promotes good content and puts that into the news feeds of the people that you're interested in. So I think actually, just let me reinforce the good content bit. Your content needs to be really good post, needs to have really good visual element, and have just be compelling. But sponsoring that then is a really good way of getting that information outside of your followers. We spend a lot of time with ourselves and clients to build followers on LinkedIn channels and Twitter, etc. But there are some nice shortcuts to getting to those other people. And again, on Twitter, typically we'd look at a Twitter card, doing something quite visual with a strong call to action, and then sponsoring that out. Different sponsoring engines, different algorithms and options, but we tend to do a mix of both LinkedIn sponsored company page updates and sponsored tweets, if that's webinars or guides, but promote something around the premium content, and you can get a real boost to your lead figures. And it can be, if you're looking at Twitter, you could end up paying, say, 50p a click to maybe £3-4 on LinkedIn for the real top level, board level contacts, and there's a lot of competition for them. There's a real range of sort of PPC rates out there, but it's really worthwhile looking at. We'd be delighted to tell you kind of more about that if you were obviously interested. Just wanted to talk about the marketing automation side, and just two points really around leads that have been generated. So we've been talking about leads that you generated from social channels, but this applies really on a wider perspective for any leads through your website, through your email campaigns, through social marketing, as I said. So we're here really we're talking about making sure that that sales are picking up the best quality leads possible from a marketing campaign. So what the approaches that we take here is all around moving that lead up in terms of getting it closer to the point at which it's applicable for a salesperson to have that conversation. It's a warmer lead. So we would look to use some of the content that we looked at earlier to nurture that lead, basically. And we'd look at a lead scoring framework, so we could get a lead and push it to the point where it's maybe reached, say, 45 or 50 points, and that could then be triggered through to sales to pick up. And so that the points that etc. could be done through the profile, what industry that person's in, which you could get from the web to lead form, what the job title is. You might score a director or a CEO much higher than a manager, for example. And then through, we use Acton here as an automation platform. Through a system like Acton, then you can track the entire digital footprint of that lead, and you can there's so much flexibility then in terms of how you can score and prioritize your leads. So a little bit of promotion of one of the other webinar programs that we're running. If you're interested to hear more about lead nurturing and how that can be done through marketing automation, then we are running two webinars, the same webinar twice actually, integrating marketing, Thursday October 30th at 11 and Thursday November 6th at 11. Both times they are going to be GMT, because I think we moved from BST to GMT towards the end of October, so they'll be 11 o'clock GMT. So that's successflow.co.uk for the webinars there if you'd like to sign up for those. So I'm just going to move on. So yeah, here this is where I was talking about the lead scoring and just giving sales a richer set of leads, and give them the warmest possible leads for them to follow up with. Okay, move on past that. Right, we're going to pick up on questions now. So the first question, Ketan, if you could just confirm who asked me these questions, that would be great. So the first question: do you generally find LinkedIn your main lead generation platform? So that one came in, I think, fairly early on. I think from so apologies, I've not got the names against these, but in terms of what Mark presented and talked us through, then from Octopus findings, absolutely, from social, LinkedIn is 80% of what's going on. From SuccessFlow's perspective, LinkedIn is a fantastic source of leads for us and for our clients too. It's a fantastic channel to put alongside other things that you're doing. So making sure you're converting what's going through your website in terms of organic traffic. I think this question was from Ravik, I think.
Mm-hmm. Can I answer that question as well?
Please, yeah, of course you can.
Yeah. So it's a great question. Personally, for us, LinkedIn is by far the most effective, and that's because we have such a presence there. We have our company page, and then we utilize our team. So we utilize evangelism within our company to do posting on their profiles and in discussion groups. So we have a 5-person team, and all of them are active in LinkedIn. So it's a really wide channel. And I think it depends on the company. Obviously, in B2B, LinkedIn's important, but there are different industries in B2B where maybe Twitter is more effective, or maybe even Google+. So I think it depends a lot, but for us, and most of the people that I talk to that use Octopus, LinkedIn really is the most beneficial, if done correctly.
Thanks for that, Mark. Okay, the next question. So this is the question from Ravik, so thank you for that. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly. So we can track the source of our leads, including social media as a whole, and channels within that in particular. But what we're missing is tracking engagement in our CRM. Sure, Sprout, social, and other tools give you engagement, but how to bring that data to our CRM? which is where the revenue information is. So Mark, I think a perfect question for yourself there.
Sure, definitely. Well, so I can only speak from our experience, and that's because we use our own platform, Octopost, and we do integrate that with Salesforce. And so the way that works is based, if you have a lead generated from social media and that lead doesn't already exist in your Salesforce account, it'll bring that lead in and it'll bring you this rich lead data. So who the lead is, which post they clicked on, in which social channel, what posts they've clicked on, and we take that into automation platforms like Acton as well, and we can actually, within Acton, for example, we can follow continued click data. So as the person continues to click your post, once he's in your system, we're then able to allow you to increase lead scores and things like that. If you're talking about engagement in terms of discussions as opposed to clicks, that's something that we're not currently doing in terms of conversations and using that as information to score leads and things like that. We're basically looking at not only engagement, but we're looking at actions they take. And for us, a click and a conversion, if it converted numerous times, that speaks to certain actions, and that's really what our sales team sees in terms of the engagement of social media. So that's in our experience what we do.
Thanks, Mark. Next question is from Natalie. So could we see a live demo of the Octopost lead gen functionality? Yeah, I think some of the screenshots, we couldn't, begin to show you everything, and we'd be delighted to organise that. So we'll be in touch after the webinar. So thank you very much for that. So Catherine, a question from yourself. We've long known the value of LinkedIn for B2B leads, but Twitter comes as a surprise. Do you find many decision makers are active there rather than on Facebook? And how can we make sure Twitter content stands out to these people? Do you want to take that one, Mark? Or?
Sure. So, as you saw in the statistics there, LinkedIn is obviously the most important. You'd be surprised. You would be surprised how many CMOs or C-suite people are on Twitter and active. And if you're going for that channel that can break down barriers, you'd really be surprised at how many people you can reach. Now, there may be a chance that it's a CEO's Twitter account, but it's being managed by someone else. But if you make that contact, then it very well could make its way up the ladder there. If you interact with, let's say, the social media manager at a certain company, there's a good chance that if they see that, they're going to push that up the funnel to the decision maker. So you may be talking to the gatekeeper, but eventually it could lead to something more. So yeah, to me it's really a great channel, and I was surprised as well once I started using Twitter more often.
I've got a follow-up question from Catherine, actually, Mark, while you're in full flow. So can CRM add-on programs like Octopost track which social channels the leads are coming from rather than just classify them as social? Our current program would require different shortened URLs to identify different sources.
Right. So that's exactly what Octopost does. It actually, any post that goes out through Octopost, the system automatically creates a unique short link. So we'll know exactly not only which social channel it came from, but which specific tweet it was or specific post, and which profile or page made that post, on which date it was, who the person was, in which social campaign it was, and what they converted, so what they filled out a form for. So yes.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for confirming I pronounced your name correctly, Ravik. So a follow-up question from yourself. So what about if the lead is not new to our database? So say the lead is already known to us. Could you track engagement as in clicks, conversations, etc., and maybe conversions? So short answer, Mark, really is yes, right? It's not just new leads in the database. Current leads too, right?
Right, yeah. Right. So what happens is that we make sure not to duplicate the leads either. So if the lead already exists in your system, we're going to then just enrich that information within Salesforce. With Salesforce, we're only going to be able to track those leads if they had at some point converted it to social. So let's say that you already had the lead in your system, and then at another point they filled out a form and became a conversion for something else. And then we're able to tack this information onto their Salesforce page. And so we're going to be able to just enrich that information. So even if they exist already, we're then able to bring more social information, like which post they clicked on, to convert again.
Thank you, Mark. Well, I think looking at the time, we're going to call a hold on questions for now. There's actually, we remiss of us not to just tell you kind of who we are and just sort of summarize that. So SuccessFlow, we're a B2B marketing agency. We provide managed services for B2B organizations, and we provide services around social marketing and content marketing, and bringing everything together from an infrastructure perspective, so marketing automation, software and platforms, and integrating those into CRM systems like Salesforce, etc. So I'm not going to go kind of wax lyrical about that, but we'd be delighted to talk to you guys about what we've done for other B2B organizations and what potentially we could do for for yourselves. And Mark, a little bit kind of about Octopost.
Sure. Yeah. So I think I mentioned it. I got to speak about Octopost quite a bit. But Octopost is really it's a social media marketing platform for B2B companies that are using social as a distribution channel for their content, on a large scale. So using multiple social profiles across LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Google+, and we mentioned LinkedIn discussion groups as well, and company pages. And so we provide this kind of full circle where it allows you to publish and then measure. So what we're looking at is not likes. We can see that, but it's not as important. We're looking at conversions. So we can see how many clicks, how many conversions. We can give you that enriched data about who the person is, what they clicked on, which campaign it was. We also have social listening through streams, which I mentioned. You can follow certain keywords, and then we can engage as well, and then we integrate into other platforms. So we can take that lead information and send it to Salesforce, for example, or to marketing automation platforms like Acton.
Thank you very much from Mark and myself, and
Thanks, everybody.
we shall hopefully speak to you on a future webinar. Have a good day.